So welcome back, everyone. My next guest has been on with me once before. Listen up, everybody, because I don't think there's anybody who does what he does here in the Valley. I have with me Patrick Kaiser, and he is the owner of Just 1%, brokered by My Home Group. Please tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do that is so different than anybody else, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again, Carol. I thoroughly enjoyed my first time here, so
Thank you.
happy to be here again. So Just 1% is a company that was founded about 8 years ago, and we exist basically to compete on price. A lot of real estate agents are out there. There's over 60,000 licensed real estate agents in Phoenix. So if you're looking for a real estate agent, you have a lot of choices. But the difference between a lot of the agents is that they don't really compete on price. So you're comparing agents, and if you're gonna talk to 3, 4, 5 agents, the reality is that the majority of them are basically all charging the same price or within such a close price that it's really just competing on the services, maybe who you like the best. So we were founded 6 years ago to offer a service that is a more reasonable price. I refuse to use the word discount. I've never referred to myself as a discount agent because we don't cut any corners or do anything that is less than the best that we can do. We just charge a 1% fee all the time.
Now, I like that we're going to use this website.
Yes.
Because it's really easy to remember.
Yeah, I had the website last time I was here, but I forgot to tell you about it.
Okay, well, it's agentschargetoomuch.com. And the phone number, write this number down. It's 602-768-2767. You say that you're helping people make more money when buying and selling homes.
Yes. And today we're going to talk a little bit about selling your home. The last time I was in, we talked mostly about how the program applied to buyers because that's a new program that's just been started in the last few months. So today I wanted to talk a little bit more about selling your home. So what we do, of course, we charge just the 1% fee. But one of the biggest questions that I get a lot is, what corners are you cutting? Where's the catch? What's going to come up missing that I didn't expect?
Right.
People always just assume, and I think it's just baked into the culture of America, that if you're paying less, you're obviously going to get a worse service.
Right, they always say the same thing. It's too good to be true.
And I agree, and that in most cases it probably, if it looks too good to be true, it is. But it's just not in my personality to cut any corners or do anything less than the absolute best that we can do. So when we're listing a home for our 1% fee, we're hiring the best photographers. I meet every photographer on site to make sure that I get the photos that I want, the angles that I want, the lighting that I want. I make sure that the home is in as good a shape as it can be for the photos that we're taking. And then we're going to list it on the MLS and put it in front of the largest audience that we can. And then we're going to obviously try to attract the buyers in any way that we can get in front of them and hopefully have the best outcome possible.
Now, the best thing to do, right now today we're talking about people who are selling their homes. Number one, when you're selling, you want the most you can get.
Yes.
Right, that's what it's all about. And right off the bat, just because of what you do, you're going to get the most that you can get.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. We're taking obviously good photos. There are a lot of agents out there, even today. I don't know how they stay in business, but I still see people listing their homes with photos that were taken with cell phones. They're blurry, they're at odd angles, poor lighting, the house is not readily prepared. So we're never doing any of that. And I would put any of my listings that I've ever done up against the best listings and even the most expensive agents that are possible. And I'm more than happy to send anyone a list of every home we've ever listed if they want to do the comparison for themselves. Once that is done, I'm sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So once that is done, obviously the rest is up to the market. We're going to put it out there in front of everybody that can see it, and then it's going to be on the market against the other homes that are for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So there is going to be a maximum price that one can get. We cannot exceed that to a certain degree because the buyers have choices, and the market's not as strong as it was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But once we get that maximum price, then obviously by the fact that we're charging less, the sellers are going to net more.
Right. Now, the phone number to call again is 602-768-2767. He does free consultations. He works valley-wide. And the website is agentschargetoomuch.com. Helping people make more money when buying and selling homes. Really what it's all about. Especially, now with the rates have gone up,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it's a very crazy time in all, not just your market, but in all areas in business today. but people still have to move.
Mm-hmm.
People still are buying and selling homes all the time. That doesn't just, you might get a job somewhere
Yes.
else and you have to move.
Yeah, it's not the easiest time in the world to sell a house right now. The inventory is going up in most parts of the valley. The buyers, even in the last 10 or 12 days, the interest rates on mortgages have gone up somewhere in the range of around 0.5%. There's a lot of turmoil in various markets that we know about, and a lot of buyers have sort of hit the pause button. So if you are listing a home right now, you need to be competitive on your price. And of course, with our business model, we're hoping to help you net as much as possible just in the end. We're going to max out the sales price and then hopefully take home as much money as possible for the sellers.
I do want to ask you this question because you have it down here. Does someone need to be buying another property to qualify for the program?
No, not at all, and that is actually a common question that I get because there's a lot of agents out there that will offer sort of discounts if you're both buying and selling, but we don't have any sort of stipulations as to when we offer this price. It does not matter the size of the home, the price of the home, or the location of the home, as long as it's in the greater Phoenix metro area. If you're buying a home, as we talked about the last time I was on the show, of course we offer our 1% on the buying side as well, but I don't want to spend as much detail this time around talking about the buying side of the equation because we're mostly focusing on the selling side.
Okay. Now, where is the home listed, did you say?
I did say earlier, we listed on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service for those who don't know. And the reason that matters is because once it goes on the MLS, it's automatically populated to basically every other website that one can imagine. So it's going to be on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, and basically any other place that the buyers are looking. Every single brokerage's website, there's more than 500 brokerage as well, and on everywhere that buyers are looking, the listing goes automatically in front of all of them simultaneously.
Just 1%. Listen to that. And one of the only, you said, I don't think there's anybody else that's doing what you do here.
I don't know, and I think you probably know even more people than I do. I don't think anyone else is doing it, do you
Right?
think?
No, I do not. I don't think I've heard it at all, and that's why when I saw what you do, I was like, I gotta call this guy, because you gotta get the word out.
Yes.
And this is a place to do that. And what I love about this show is the information that people get, and it could be you, and it could be someone that you know. Definitely, please, today we're talking about people that are selling their homes. I don't care if you're buying or selling, please put this number in your phone. And when you're ready, this is the number that you need to call, because he is gonna get you the best. He wants to make sure that you are getting the most money that you can when buying or selling a home, just 1%. Again, that number to call him direct is 602-768-2767. He does do free consultations, and he works valley-wide. You were also on ABC a few weeks ago talking on Sonoran Living about
Yep.
this as well.
Yes.
I think that's what you want to do, is you're really out there right now. Please hear this, all of Arizona, please hear what I'm trying to say, right?
Yes, I wish I could service all of Arizona, but of course, the show goes farther than my ability to drive and look at these properties.
Right, but most, the valley. you
Yes,
work in
basically the
valley.
greater Phoenix metro area, all the way from Whitman to Santan Valley, Avondale to Apache Junction.
But what I always say too about the people that are listening, even if you're far away, somebody knows somebody that might live right here in the area, you know?
And the vast majority of my business still comes from referrals. So even though I'm advertising and I'm on various radio and TV shows, most of my clients come from their friend, their neighbor, somebody that sold with me in the past, or they saw one of my listing signs and kept my number around and referred me to their friends and family.
And
That's
because
still the core of my business.
they had a good experience.
Yes,
And
and
that's
you
the
can
other
Google
thing.
it, you can look it up. I've got a 5-star rating on Google from all of my past clients, and that's for anybody to go and look at.
And so you can go on to Google, 5-star rated everywhere. His phone number again to call is 602-768-2767. Valley-wide, he does free consultations. Check it out on his website, which is agentschargetoomuch.com. We're gonna go to a break, we're gonna come back and talk further. Again, write the number down, it's 602-768-2767, one of the only ones here that does just 1%. Okay,
Okay.
happy?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good, we're gonna keep on talking. 'cause
I'm always
we're right in
happy.
there.
when I'm with you.
Oh, that's very nice of you. So we're gonna keep on talking here. I do wanna ask you on your website, do you want me to add that to your sign?
Probably, yeah.
Or take that one off and just
I
do that one?
created that website just for the radio commercials because it's easier to remember.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's
Yeah.
much better. Is it on it's on the ad? I can't remember. I'll have to look.
I'd have
It's
to
not
check
on
as
yet.
well.
Oh, this is, we'll listen to
I
it.
think it's on the ad.
Okay. When we're done, if you could pull up his ad so we can hear it really quickly. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I believe it's on the ad because I created it just to be easier to say.
Yeah, it's better anyway,
Right.
just because when it's the number one, you have to say the number one,
Yes.
right? And so it's just, I like both of them, I like both, but I do think that's much easier.
Yeah, yeah. I just when I started doing the verbal only advertisements,
Yes.
I was trying to find something that was easy to say.
Right, and it is, and it's very, it's catchy,
Yeah.
you know, and everybody's.
You know what?
everybody-
Maybe we should talk about after the break.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna change one of these questions. We're gonna talk about service area, and then I'm just gonna put this question here. Is that okay?
You can do whatever you want.
This is another very, very common question that I get after the changes that we had, last year. Do sellers still pay for the buyer's agent?
Okay.
And how does that work? So
Okay.
we'll talk about that real quick. I've got some other questions there, but
I'll go right to it. Cause you already said some of these other things.
yeah, we already talked about the service area.
This is important, so we're gonna do,
And this is just sort of a chat one, what do they have to do to get their homes ready for sale?
I'm
more
gonna do that,
educational,
I wanna do
Fill time with that.
Here we go. So welcome back, everyone. We're live on Facebook, so hi to everybody out there. We're talking with Patrick Kaiser, and he is an associate broker. He is the one person here in the valley that just charges 1%.
Yeah, 1% whether you're buying or selling. So I believe there's some other, lower fee or similar models for the listings, but I don't think anyone else is doing this for buyers.
Now, you're 5-star rated everywhere. Also, what I say, we were talking a little bit at the break, there's things that people need to do to get ready. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. But one of the things that you really wanted to talk about was, do sellers still need to have to pay for buyers' agents?
Yes, it's one of the most common questions I get because if anyone has sold a home in the past, over the last 50 years, of course, it was always common and almost universal that when you listed a home, you would pay the listing agent, and then that listing agent would split either equally or to a certain degree with the buyer's agent. And buyers never really had to pay for their agents, so the buyer's agent was always paid for by the seller. Well, as of last August, we had a change in the real estate industry where buyers are now required to sign contracts with their agents prior to showing homes. So the question, which I haven't answered yet, is do the sellers still have to pay for the buyer's agent? The answer is no, you do not have to pay for the buyer's agent, but most buyers are low on funds. The vast majority of people who are buying homes, especially first-time homeowners, are not in a financial position to really pay for their agents out of pocket. So the way that we do it now is the buyer's agents, basically as part of the contract, they'll submit it over when they're making an offer to buy a home, and more or less say, please pay for my agent, and here's the amount that I would like for you to pay. But the really big difference prior to the way things were done before is that amount is now negotiable at the time of contract. It was negotiable when you were listing with your agent before, but once you listed on the MLS, it was not negotiable. Now, when buyers are making their offer, we're able to negotiate on how much we're willing to pay the agent. And so, we can have that discussion after people submit their offers, and if the numbers are good, we can pay it. And if the numbers are not quite going to net the seller what they're looking for, then we're more than capable of negotiating on that buyer-agent commission, which was something we could not do before.
So who is your perfect client?
Perfect client is definitely someone who's selling and buying, of course, because I would like to represent them twice. And with my 1% on both sides, of course, the savings compound. So you're not only saving money when you sell your home, and obviously netting more, hopefully we have some more to put down, but then with my 1% buyer's agency, when you go to purchase, we're able to take that extra money that you're saving on the buyer's agent commission, and normally we're using that to buy down the interest rate with the lender, which if that doesn't make sense to you, maybe you haven't bought a home, then give me a call. We can explain how interest rates with lenders work and how we're able to buy the interest rate down with savings on the buyer's agent commission. So a perfect person is someone who that money really matters to. And
It really matters to me.
it matters to a lot of people, but there are other people who are looking for something different. They might need a luxury experience, or an agent who's going to, like if you have a luxury home, for instance, most of those luxury agents, they're showing up to meet every single buyer on site. Obviously, we're not able to do all of that, just with the way that the business works, but for the average person, with a home anywhere between $400,000 and $800,000, and especially if they're looking to, make a move, upsize or downsize, if they had a child or if they're retired and maybe they have a home that's too large for them and they need to buy another one in town, that would be the perfect fit for me.
Right. Well, we have a lot of investors that listen and a lot of flippers out there.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Especially
another
here in
client.
Arizona.
I'm glad you said that, because about somewhere between 40 and 50% of my listings are flips. Obviously, with a flip, the amount that you pay to the agent comes directly out of your profit.
Mhm.
So if you pay more, and the numbers are tight on flips, they have to buy them, they have to put all the money into the repairs. They typically have holding costs. Those hard money loans are not free.
Mhm.
And of course, if you're paying an agent a lot of money to sell the home, then that's going to come directly out of their net. And so I list a lot of flips for that reason, just because the numbers do matter to a flipper, and they just want a good job done for a fair price.
Now, again, put this number in your phone, 602-768-2767. He does work valley-wide. He does free consultations, and his website is agentschargetoomuch.com, but not him. I wanted to say it that way on purpose.
I could say
And
other agents charge too much.com, but it's too long of an address.
it's okay, but
Yeah.
you know what, I wanted to also have you repeat how you're not a discount agent.
Yeah.
I want you to repeat that, because some people might have just tuned in.
A lot of people refer to me as a discount brokerage, just because I'm generally cheaper than most of my competition. But since the day one of my founding, I've never ever referred to myself as a discount. In fact, I put it right on the front of the flyer that you now have in front of you.
Yes, I do.
And it says right on the front, it's not a discount. The other agents charge too much.
It's right
so-
here.
Basically, I don't consider myself to be a discount in comparison to the other agents. I've always just considered myself to do a good job for the price that we charge. It's not about necessarily comparison to the other people, but I don't really like to refer to myself as a discount, because we don't cut any corners. We don't take out any services that the other agents are doing. We just do it for this price that we do it at, and of course we do at a volume that is sustainable for us.
So, first of all, I'm just gonna read this off really quickly.
Okay.
1% listing fee, any home, any size. That's number one. 5-star service from a trusted, experienced agent. No hidden fees, no cancellation fees.
That's correct, yeah.
So, and then for, buy for one, so list for 1%, buy for 1%, get up to 2% at closing. Any amount over 1% that the seller is willing to compensate us goes directly to you, the buyer. And then circled here is this contribution can save you thousands at closing or over the life of your loan.
Yeah, and again, we're mostly talking about sellers today, but on the buying side of that equation, as we discussed the process where the sellers are still able to offer commission to the buyer's agents, but it's now negotiable. So we charge 1% to the buyers, and if the sellers are willing to pay more than that, and they often are, they're still usually paying somewhere between 2.5%, 3%. But if the sellers are offering that much to the buyer's agent, anything that's above that 1% that we charge to the buyer goes to the buyer. And that's really common. So normally we're still getting about 2.5% on the buyer's agent commission on what's called the seller compensation addendum. But any amount that's above the 1% goes to the buyer. And just like you said, it can either be used to lower closing costs, but more commonly it goes to the lender to help the buyers get lower monthly payments.
Now, what is the number one thing that you think that people can do to get their homes ready for sale?
It's pretty easy. It's clean and paint. It's clean and paint. And clean
So
can
they don't
mean,
really have to do all the staging and everything?
the staging I would consider to be part of cleaning. So if you've got stuff everywhere, you need to declutter a little bit. But cleaning also entails, the number one thing that I tell people to clean that they rarely do clean is the windows. Because when we take photos, if the windows are dirty, the light looks dirty and you can't see outside. So if you have a home with a view and you have dirty windows, and that happens a lot more than you would imagine, then
Clean your windows!
clean everything, in the home. And then especially if the home has any bright colors, yellows, pinks, purples, you may love those colors. But studies show that about 80% of people cannot imagine a room in another color.
Mhm.
They just can't. So if you've got colors that you love, that's awesome for when you live in the house. But when you're getting ready to sell it, it really needs to be painted neutral colors so that the new buyers can say, they might want a bright color too,
Right.
but they need to be able to look at that neutral color and picture that new color in there.
Right.
And if it's already a bright red or yellow or pink,
I
they're
remember
just not
when
able to.
I
They're just
ran
not.
out of a house one time that was peach.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way!
And obviously everyone would say, well, it can be repainted. Can't they picture that?
Right.
No, they just can't.
They can't.
They just can't.
It was the same thing, and what do you think they said to me? Well, you can paint it.
No.
Oh, okay, I guess that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's just
But
human nature. The
it is.
the
I
people
didn't
are
know
not able to really picture a house in another color. They're
Right.
just not.
It's not, but getting it cleaned and painted in a very neutral color is the best thing to do.
Yeah, and obviously if you're still living in the home, cleaning can mean different things. If you have carpet and you can see wear patterns or where you walk through the carpet either needs to be cleaned or possibly replaced, and that's not super expensive, but a lot of people will say, well, why don't we just offer a credit or something?
Mhm.
For the same reason as I mentioned about the color. People just cannot picture that house with clean carpet. It's just the way it works. So if you can't afford to do so, obviously we're still going to do our best to photograph the house, or we can arrange with people who do carpet cleaning and try to get it as clean as possible. But if you're able to clean and paint,
Well, I mean, if
Make
you're
it
gonna
look
make
neutral.
it, you're gonna make the money back, basically, right?
on cleaning and painting, and studies show that you make anywhere between 3 and 10 times on those things specifically.
Is there anything else that they should do that you can recommend, since we have a minute or so?
Well, if we still have more time, then if you are decluttering, if you've got a lot of stuff everywhere, the rule of thumb is always 10% full. So a lot of people will take all of their shelves and bookcases and knickknacks that they have around and get rid of them 100%. And that's also not perfect. The ideal percentage of things in a room is about 10%. And what I like to tell people is if you need to know what your home should look like in a perfect world, go to a new build community that's near you and look at a model home. They're not empty. There's just enough in each room where you can get an idea of what that person's stuff would look like in there. And that is the perfect amount of stuff to have in a home if you're currently living there. As far as your personal belongings, like your food and clothing and closets, I always try to tell people, they never listen to me, but keep enough clothes just for like a 2-week period in those closets. And again, for a similar reason, because people are going to come in, if your closets are all full, it's difficult for them to see what those
Keep it
things
simple,
look like.
that's
Keep it
what
simple.
Keep it simple, and you know what, he can help you with all of that. All you have to do is give him a call. He is 5-star rated everywhere, and also he does free consultations with people. He works valley-wide. His phone number to call is 602-768-2767. The website is agentschargetoomuch.com. He helps people make more money when buying and selling homes, and that's really what it's all about, folks. And I think he's probably the one and only person that does that here. Again, that number is 602-768-2767.